All right, Tesla update here on the 25th. So we know the third wave ended right here. So now we just have a few different scenarios. If the third wave ended there, the fourth wave could have ended here. This is an ABC move, right above the 200 DMA, and then we come down. This could be a fifth wave if it's a truncated wave 5. I've talked about that before. So if that is the bottom of wave 5 right here, then you're looking at, let's go to the 4-hour. You're looking at this being either a C wave or a third wave. If it's a third wave, it would go all the way to 317. If it's a C wave, then I would probably be looking for it to top out somewhere around here, especially with the 200 DMA at like 292. So I have C right here. If it's a third wave, it's likely going to go higher. If it's a third wave, then you're potentially looking at, let's see how far this would pull back. 290, and then you're looking here up probably into that box. Yep. Right into this box around 364. But if it makes 5 waves there, then that means that would only be an A wave. This would be A right here. And that would be super bullish. That would probably go along with the SPX video I just put out. That would go along with SPX breaking 58.30. So if that happens, you could potentially see a bottom here. It'd be a very short C wave. So I'll be watching. If this hits 317 next week, breaks above the 200 DMA, that's going to be super, super bullish. Now, if this ends up being a C wave right here and it tops out right here, then I'm looking at this whole thing as WXY. So we have A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, WXY move. And then that would make this the fourth wave. So if we get the scenario where SPY pulls back to 52.50, you might see something like this from Tesla. Down here to daily demand, 243, retrace, and then head down here for wave 5. So, are there any other scenarios here? Let's see what else. The other scenario is just going to be that we get a little bit of consolidation like this, and this was wave 5, and this ends up being an ABC move. We get a B wave retrace, and then we move up here still, and then that ends up being a second wave. How could this happen? This could happen if SPY pulls back to 52.50 and then goes all the way up to 5,700, and Tesla runs all the way up here to 340, ends up being a second wave, and then this ends up going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that down. So really, how are you going to determine this? I would really follow SPX. I put out the video of the 3 scenarios, what to look for. The only supply zone or demand zone you have is down here at 243. And really, you just need to be watching the moving averages here. 200 DMA is going to tell the story here. It's at 291. We rejected it back here. Still not above it. If it can get above 292 on a closing basis, then that's super bullish. It's pretty much the easiest way to look at it right now. But we'll see if it pulls back here. We're getting a little bit of a mixture of options here. At the end of the day, we did get some 620, 260 puts coming in, but they were also buying calls for the second. And what else we got here? We have a 270 call they're selling 280 calls. That was for today though. These don't matter. And then you can see here, 2027 they bought 200 puts. So I don't think my assessment of it going sub 200 is going to be that far off. I'd be very, very surprised if we already bottomed. But they are selling some 330 puts, though, for the 20th of June as well. Selling some 320 for 815. And then back here is pretty much all bullish. That was when we were running up. But here the other day, talked about this in one of my comments, they were buying these 815. Here's another one right here. They bought, that's not the right one. Where's the 516? Here it is. Look at that. 27,516,370 puts at 257. They're basically saying, I want to short this at whatever price you give me before the 16th. They're like, we'll get a sign. That's completely fine. I want to be short. And then you have these 815, 170, and 185 calls. They were selling them right here. Before that, they were buying a bunch, though. So they bought 3.3. Kind of curious what the plus minus is here. So 3.3. This might take me a second, but be interesting to see what the net is on this. Maybe it'll end up being like even. So right now, that's bullish. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty bullish right now. But then you get 2.97. This might take a while, actually. I'll just show you all of these right here. 815, 270 puts. And then again, you had those 516, 375, and 370 puts. 42 million at the ask. That means they're buying them. So they're basically saying, okay, this can run into May if you want it to. We'll get a sign because we think this is going to go a lot lower than 257. Because if they get a sign, let's say they get assigned at 330, they're going to be down in their position pretty big. So they're saying it's going to go much lower. So anyway, you can look at that a little bit. I think that overall, it just shows that it's very short-term bullish, and then it's going to be bearish after that. And so which scenario does that fit? I think it fits this being a fourth wave. Maybe this comes a little bit higher on Monday. I was doing my count here, and I think this looks like an extension. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or is this going to end up being a fourth wave and we go one more higher to fifth wave? We'll see. Maybe it hits the 200 DMA. Those are the three scenarios I see on Tesla. The triangle got eliminated pretty much. I was looking at one other scenario, and that scenario was there's a triangle scenario that you could still have. It'd be a bigger triangle. So this would end up being A, B, C, D, E. This actually does make a lot of sense with that demand zone up there, or down there. See here, draw the parallel line here, right into this demand zone on May 12th, around 240. And then this would likely go all the way back up here to like 280, maybe into the end of May. And then that would be the fourth wave right there. And then from there, it could go down. So that's my update on Tesla. A lot of different possibilities still, and that's pretty typical of a fourth wave or the start of a retrace for a second wave. So we'll see what happens. I think the best thing to look at is the moving averages again. You got to look at the 200. If it gets above the 200, then I'd be bullish short term. Right now, I think it's slightly slightly bearish. Above the 200, there's not really any resistance. There's no supply zones. The daily and the weekly moving averages will all be below it at that point, up to 338. And so, yeah, just watch the 200 DMA. Let's see what happens next week. The market is going to tell us 100%. Whatever happens right here is going to tell us everything. That's it for this update. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe for more updates, and I'll catch you in the next video.